So I'm here in my garden. I thought I'd give you guys a garden update. Mike is currently working on setting up a stove that we just got. We got a propane stove a few days back off Kijiji actually for a couple $100. So that saved us a lot of money. So I'm hoping everything works out. We were able to test it at the person that we bought it from house, and everything was in working order. So we're just setting up some propane, and then we're going to cook some eggs for the first time on our stove together, and we're also going to be doing our kitchen. So I'm going to be taking off all of the cupboards and handles for the doors and hinges and spray painting them, and then I'm also going to paint the cupboards and stuff white. And then Mike is going to be cutting out the countertop to put the sink in, and then we'll be on a hunt for a faucet. And then after that, all we have to do really is kind of make the decorations of the walls look good. The plumbing, which shouldn't be too hard. We're hoping, anyways, fingers crossed. And then we'll be all set up. So we got our fridge, our counters, our cupboards, our stove, and we paid, I think, for everything. And we did buy the sink and the countertop and the fridge brand new. For everything we paid under $2,000. So we could have went a little more frugal. The big chunk of that was a fridge. We hemmed and hawed about whether we wanted to buy a brand new fridge or not. But we said, you know what, for the solar, it's newer, let's buy brand new. In hindsight, I probably would have looked for a really good used one and saved a few $100s there, because my original goal was $1,500 for the entire kitchen. So but we got the stove for $200, the sink and the countertop, and the cupboards for under $1,000, and then the fridge. So we didn't do too bad. We went a little over budget, but still, for an entire kitchen that eventually we'll probably add a couple more $100s for the plumbing and decorations, but eventually it'll look like a cozy little cute cottage or log cabin kind of kitchen. I'm going for country look though too, so we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. I'm not too afraid of that. But anyways, real quick, I just wanted to show you guys, give you guys a little tour of our garden to see how much it has actually grown. I'm in awe. I didn't have much experience growing in this zone, or any experience I should say, growing in this zone. So we're in zone 3, and I'm used to a little bit warmer temperatures, but everything is growing really well. We have a few different experiments going on to see how well things do in pots, because I'd like to grow them in future a lot, and if they do well, then we'll be planting a heck of a lot more next year. So without further ado, this here will start off. Okay, so this here is our yellow zucchini. We do have a couple on here that are really starting to take shape, so we'll be able to pick them in a couple days. I do have, I know Mike's reaction, like he's been gone for a few days, and the growth even in 3 days. So we have some Arctic kiwi here that we're going to find a permanent home for either in the fall or spring. And then we have some elderberry in those 3 pots there. One of my elderberries didn't take. But yeah, so we have Arctic kiwis, the zucchini, and the elderberry. And then here, I wanted to grow this variety a little bit this year just to see how it was. These are called Blue Lake bush beans. So they're not a climbing bean, they're just a bush bean. And I wanted to see how well they do. And then if we like them and they do well, then we are going to plant a bunch next year so we can can them up. So this year's garden was basically just to get it in and get some food and see how things grow. And so here we have some green zucchini doing really well. Let me get this pot out of here. We got actually 3 zucchini on there that we could probably pick in the next couple days. I don't like to let them go too big. And then we got some jalapeno peppers here. So they're starting to grow for me. That one looks more like a bell pepper, so I'm wondering if that's different. It might be actually. I have jalapenos and then King of the North peppers up here. So, but the jalapenos are starting to come in there. my hope is, I have a bunch of banana peppers and some jalapenos. My hope is to pickle some. I got some cilantro growing here. This is just going to be for our summer cilantro, giving it a little bit more time to grow. And then I planted a bunch in the fall, or for fall crop over. I'll take you there in a minute. I planted a bunch, and hopefully it takes off, and then we can have some for fall that I can use over the winter. I'll just dry it. We have a couple tomato plants here that are doing pretty good. We have some experimental peppers. They are red bell. I don't think they're going to do too well, but time will tell. We have some watermelon doing okay. I gotta water it. They do need a lot of water, and with our well issue, especially with no rain, it's not the best scenario. I do have to water these tomatoes today though. I'll do that in the evening. We do have some fruit on a few of them. And then this here, let's see, I can't even zoom out, I have to step back. This here is my please grow for me, because I will grow this every single year. It is my favorite squash ever, and it's kabocha squash. And we have quite a few. Let's see if we can see from this angle. There's quite a few fruit already starting. So I'm hoping they all get fertilized. And I'd say I've seen at least a dozen different fruit on here. And then my hope is to be able to give some away. I know somebody who loves this squash as much as I do. I know a couple people. So I'm hoping that I get plenty so I can give some away. I'm thinking of Rose and Lucy. So I hope they do really, really well, because if they do, I'd love to give some. And then we have some butternut squash there, and then I'm doing an experiment with some apple gourds over in the corner. Another thing I really, really wanted to grow here was the banana peppers. So I've already picked a couple, and there's still a couple that are coming up. I trimmed these heavily so that they got a thicker stalk. And they all kind of, when I got them, like even a couple weeks ago, they were all like, eh. So the ones with fruit on them, I didn't bother trimming because I wanted to see a difference between those and then this. So this here I trimmed way back. I let the stalk get a lot thicker, and although it sacrifices some fruit now, it's going to give me a lot more fruit later. So we're hoping that we get tons of banana peppers, because I do two things with it. I make Mike's favorite soup in the whole wide world. Yes. And I also pickle them. I got some rutabagas that actually a neighbor gave to me to plant into the ground for a fall crop, and so this is where I planted them. I've been watering them, but we'll see. They were just planted, so typically for me everything looks like that when they first get planted, but hopefully they turn out. And then this is where I also planted my cilantro. I just watered these yesterday, so I gotta water them again tonight. My lettuce isn't doing too well with the heat that we've been having, the lack of water, so most of them have started to bolt. So I haven't bothered watering them because once they bolt, they turn bitter. So I'm just going to let them bolt and collect the seeds so that we can grow some next year. And then we also have some thyme that I'm going to be collecting and drying for winter time. And then I got some cucumbers back up in here. They're starting to give me cucumbers. So we'll see. There's a few different babies on there. I kind of have them trying to trellis up. Let's see. So here's a baby. And oh look, there's a little bit bigger of a baby. So this one will probably be ready to harvest in a little bit. And then we can use it in our salads with the lettuce that isn't bolting. So it's not doing too bad. It's gonna trellis all up here, and we'll see. This was, it's called Roselle Red Hibiscus, And this is the hibiscus that you would see, like, have you ever seen iced tea hibiscus and mango or something like that? So this is the edible hibiscus, not the typical flower you would find in a garden. They grow really tall. I've grown them once before in where I used to live, but we are in a different zone. So this is an experiment just to see how well they do. If they don't do too well, they are a warmer climate plant. So if they don't do too well here, then I'm going to plant them in the greenhouse next year and let them soar in there. But I wanted to see as an experiment how well they do. And then we got some herbs and some sage and stuff like that in this bowl. It's doing pretty good. I've had to cut back the basil pretty heavily. And then here we have some toothache plants. Again, experiment, warmer type of plant, warmer climate type of plant. So we'll see how well these do. These are a really nifty plant. They're called toothache. They look like little bullseyes once the flower comes, about this big. And if you chew on them or if you make a tincture, it's like a natural ambisol. It's super cool. It makes your whole mouth buzz. So I've grown these once before as well, and they did really well in Durham when I was there. So I'm hoping that they do well here. If not, I have a few seeds left over and we'll be planting them in the greenhouse next year. So that is pretty much it for our garden tour. I'm gonna go back inside and make Mike some eggs on the stove. Hopefully it's all set up. And then we're going to be getting to the kitchen. So we'll see you back in the kitchen. So we had another little glitch in our day, nothing big, just when we were trying to do measurements for the countertop, we realized that we needed to amend the counter just a little bit. We need to add kind of like a backdrop or backsplash, and then we're gonna build a little wall beside the fridge. So before we actually make the cut into the counter, we're going to make sure all of that is done first so that we only have to cut once but measure multiple times. One of my favorite sayings is measure twice, cut once. So that's what we're gonna do with that. And then when I went to go take off all the handles for the cupboards to take the doors off, we had the proper part for the handles here, but we think that the proper part for the actual hinges are either left in storage or just we can't find it. So we put a squash and a kibosh on the whole kitchen thing for today, but that's okay. That's the glory of kind of doing what we're doing. We did try to make it to the local hardware store, but we were maybe 5 minutes too late and they were closing. We did make a trip to the dump, which is not too far from here. And then we also found a water spot where if we needed to, we can collect as much water as we want. It's open all the time. It's just this little artesian well that's on this side road. So we did get some water so we can put it into our water barrel tonight for the garden, and I can keep up with that. And then what else did we do? Mike cleared a ton of brush. I asked him if we can go check out the currant bushes because I saw that they started to ripen last week. And so we went down there and he brought the scythe and he just went to town. So then I asked him, well, I want to check out our grapevines and then our blackberries. And he did the same thing. And he just went to town down in this area where the orchard is. Unfortunately, we also got to check on all our fruit trees that were already here. None of them are producing fruit this year, so what we're going to do is clear the area out, maybe give it some nutrients, plant some companion trees, so a pear with a pear, apples with apples, and hopefully next year with all the stuff that we're doing, we're able to get some fruit off those trees. We did, however, find 2 huge blueberry bushes that are just loaded with blueberries waiting to, or they're just waiting to ripen at this point. So I can't wait to get those. And we did collect some currants. So I have never, uh-oh, there's a mosquito on my camera lens, sorry. I have never tried a currant that I can remember anyways. And so we went to go pick them and look at this. So there's still more. There's some that aren't ripe there, so I'm going to kind of pick through and get those ones out. If anybody knows how to ripen a currant that hasn't been ripened on the bush, please let me know down in the comments below. Again, I've never tried a currant that I can remember until tonight, so I've never grown it either. I know they're very hard to kill. One of the 2 bushes that we have is proof of that, because when we got here and discovered they were currant bushes, one of them had actually been flattened out by a pallet that was left here, and it was just prolific with berries. So there's still tons more on there, so we're going to wait for them to ripen up. But the one thing I learned with these particular currants is that you have to wait until they're very, very ripe, and they're actually not bad. So I'm going to see if I can maybe try to fix the bush that was squished, and then, you know, maybe make some currant jelly or currant sauce or something like that for the future, and then even just eat them in their natural form. So again, if you know how to do anything with currants, I'd love to hear those recipes or the ideas that you have. I've never grown them or tried them before, so that would be awesome. And yeah, so that's what we kind of did. We didn't, you know, just say, oh, we can't do the kitchen, let's not do it. We ended up doing a few other things. And as of right now, all I'm doing is the chickens are free ranging right now, so they're following us around, which is awesome. Every day I'm feeling a little bit more, or a little bit better about having them out, because I don't want them to run free and then not come back. So tonight's task is to see if they all go to bed like they normally do without them being in their coop already. So it's about 8:30 now. They're always in bed by between 9 and 9:08, so we'll see if they do that on their own tonight, and fingers crossed they do. So far, they have been the easiest thing to train in the whole world. If I can raise chickens, mind you, I've only had them for 3 weeks, but if I can raise chickens, so can you. So if you have the opportunity to raise them and you're not already, try it. It's awesome. Anyways, guys, I'll let you know how the chickens do for tonight. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Don't forget to like and share this video. And if you haven't already, please join us in our journey and hit the subscribe button.